friends is because we don't live with them. Caregiving cooperatives, which is kind of neat. It's a way where people volunteer. So say you have skills in preparing taxes. You could volunteer your services, and by volunteering, you would earn credits in caregiving. So someone else would come over and provide caregiving services for your spouse. So kind of a neat way of sharing some of the expense and also paying for things in different ways than we're used to, not just with cash. Home sharing, which I think is kind of neat. Older adults can take in people to live in their house. A lot of older adults are house rich but cash poor. So they have a lot of money invested in their house and a lot of room. So they could take in somebody, that person could live with them, and for reduced rent or for no rent, they could provide some care to the older adult, which is kind of neat, especially if you think about a college town. You think maybe a nursing student or a social work student could come live with you. That's my hope. When I become older, that a young nursing student will come live with me. That's what we hope. Which brings us to intergenerational caregiving. A lot of benefits to intergenerational interactions. So when I mentioned adult day health services, some of those are intergenerational. So if you're a caregiver and you have young children and you're also caring for your parent, you could drop both of these groups off during the day, and the child would receive daycare and the older adult would receive adult day health services, which is really kind of neat. And they can interact, which is really great as well. So some alternatives there. Moving past this, looking at some really kind of crazy alternatives, moving caregiving overseas, so relocating older adults to other countries. I know, it sounds horrible. I'm not saying these are good, I'm saying these exist. Is it feasible? Is it ethical? We'll touch on that a little later. Moving caregiving out to sea, so not just overseas, but out to sea. So, a novel approach to assisted living. So, this case study, and this is a real case. This really happened. Steve's mother has advanced Parkinson's, and his father has Alzheimer's. After 3 years of caring for his parents and depleting their savings, Steve decided to move his parents to India. They now receive 24-hour care for the cost of about $15 per day for each of them. Medications are also less expensive, and Steve's parents are now able to bank to save $1,000 each month from their Social Security checks. So Steve has moved his parents to India. Next slide. So sort of outsourcing the elderly. So Dad, you're moving to India. Great. So the benefits, it's cost effective, at least in Steve's case it was. Higher quality of care, perhaps. I mean, round-the-clock care from more than one person, which is really great. In Steve's case, he was a businessman who often went to India 3 or 4 times a year. So he felt that he was able to visit enough so that there was enough socialization for Steve. Drawbacks, lack of oversight, you're in another country. So you can't really call the ombudsman. I'm not sure if the ombudsman's over in India. Less family involvement, good thing, bad thing, depends on what your family's like. Ethical considerations. Is it ethical to take this gentleman and this woman who live their entire life in the United States and to move them to another country, away from their friends, away from whatever notion of home they may have? I don't know, that's something to think about. So some pictures, that's actually a picture of Steve's dad with his caregiver, and that's where they moved them to. And this is a really attractive Bollywood actress. I don't know why she's but you know, it's Friday, it's rainy, so we gotta, so something to think about. Cruise ship assisted living. Again, this is another real case. Alice is an 82-year-old woman who's been living on a cruise ship for the past 4 years. Prior to moving on board, she considered moving to assisted living, but found that the costs of living on the ship were comparable to assisted living costs. She now sails alongside other guests, gets to meet new people, see new places, and enjoys the amenities of the cruise ship. And this part isn't true, but she has even caught the eye of the captain. So the benefits of cruise ship assisted living: cost effective and possibly a higher quality of life, a nicer view, so you can either look at the ocean or you can look at the Olentangy. And then there's disco dancing on the Lido deck, which is always great fun. So some drawbacks: time in port. Actually, they'll have to fix the ship and clean the ship every once in a while. Less family involvement. I don't know, good thing, bad thing again. And then weight gain. All you can eat is a real problem on a cruise ship. So one more potential benefit is love. On a love boat, you never know who you're going to meet. So to sum up sort of this presentation, I don't know how I possibly could, but I will. The low-tech approach to care, currently what we have, it's labor-intensive, it's burdensome, it can be a bit paternalistic. The high-tech approach to care may be more effective in reducing burden in some aspects. I would think it would be. Fostering independence, again, in some ways I think it fosters independence. In other ways, I think it probably takes independence away. Promoting aging in place, it may allow older adults to stay in their home for longer periods of time. Some caveats, things we need to look at. It's expensive at the present moment. And then our ethical concerns: big brother or big daughter is looking over your shoulder constantly. So things to think about. So again, we are at the intersection of questions and answers. As caregivers, that's probably a place you often find yourself. So we could open the floor to any questions that anyone would have, or any suggestions.